You are welcome. In our previous lesson, we looked at rule of law and the principles of government. In this lesson, we will continue to talk about rule of law. Now, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to talk about the conditions needed to ensure rule of law. Let's talk about the conditions. Now, these conditions are very necessary to enhance rule of law. Now, the first one is existence of judicial review. Existence of judicial review. Now, judicial review is the ability of the judiciary to declare any action of the legislature and the executive unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. So anytime the legislature and the executive undertakes any action that is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, the judiciary has the mandate to exercise what we call judicial review. Now, the next one is provision of legal aid. To ensure rule of law, citizens must be provided with legal aid so that they can understand the grasp of the law anytime their rights are infringed upon. Now, the next one is tolerance of varied views. One way or one condition to ensure rule of law is that there must be tolerance of varied views. Now, the next one is existence of independent judiciary. Now, in a state, you don't just need judiciary, but you need independence of the judiciary, where the judiciary is not influenced. It's not influenced in the performance of the activities. This is a very key condition in ensuring rule of law. Then the next one is enlighten citizens. If you have a state where the people are not educated or are illiterate, how would they understand the laws? So one way to ensure rule of law is enlighten citizens. And in Ghana, it's mostly done by the NCCE, where they go around to educate us on the provisions of the Constitution and the laws of Ghana. Now, let's talk about factors that limit the operation of rule of law. Now, one factor is what we call rate of illiteracy, just like I said, where the people are illiterate. They have no grasp of the law and they will abuse the law. So illiteracy limits the operation of rule of law. Now, the next one is diplomatic immunity. Now, when diplomats comes into the country, they are protected or preserved or immune from certain things. For instance, if a diplomat commits an offense, he will not be tried in this country. He will be taken to his country before he is tried. But the rule of law states that everybody is equal before the law. So you realize that diplomatic immunity limits the operation of rule of law. Now, the next one is the system of government. It's not every system of government that admits or allows the operation of rule of law. Example, an autocratic government or a military regime might not advance the operation of rule of law. It rather limits its operation. But in a democratic governance, there is always rule of law. Now, the next one is the state of emergency. Anytime there's a state of emergency, the operation of rule of law is limited. For instance, in emergency state, the government has the right to embark on decisions without the approval of legislature or without taking it to the parliament, just to make sure that lives are protected and saved. Then the last one is what we call age limit. Age limit. Now, in Ghana, if you're not 18, you are not allowed to vote by the laws of Ghana. So you realize that even though we are talking about everybody being equal before the law, people's age place a certain limitations on them. So these are the factors that limit the operation of rule of law. So in this lesson, we've looked at the conditions needed to ensure rule of law and the limitations that comes with the operation of rule of law. In our next lesson, we will look at principles of government. We'll talk about separation of powers. See you next time.